Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta, no matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. This is it, kids. Don't get scared now, as Kevin McAllister said in Home Alone. The biggest match of our lives is 2 days away. There'll be plenty of time to be talking about a Premier League post-mortem and transfers. For now, all that matters is Paris. And let's hope we'll always have Paris again.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Oh, what happened there? That was abrupt, wasn't it? Am I still here?
You're here.
Wow. That was so weird. I don't know what's happening on my end. Maybe the power's going already. Here's the scoop, squaddies. Okay, I'm about to have a massive power outage. So if I disappear, you'll be in the good hands of Albert and Demian here. Firstly, welcome back to Squad Central, my podcast brothers from another mother, Demian and Albert. At ease, squaddies.
What up?
What up? What's going on, man?
Oh, that was a bizarre. All of a sudden, the trailer disappeared. I couldn't hear anything. And here I am.
Par for the course.
What is happening? Let's just welcome some squaddies to the house, shall we? Good evening, everyone. Don't forget to do what our chief like officer always asks, very politely and very kindly, to hit the like button and subscribe. Carol's here. PW's here. Yassel PW. Asfar is here. Ian is here. Julian is here. Demsek is here. Cross Jonky is here. Get your money out, mister. We're going to have to spend some serious doubloons. Ian's here. William's here. The whole fam jam is here and in the house. Kevin, Yassel Kevin. Hello, everyone. Thank you, as always. Barry, Harvey. Harvey, angry in caps. Here we go. For making us part of your day. Right. So, the title of the show today is Operation Ødegaard, and I wanted to start off, trying to be as positive as we can be. But of course, I'm going to get your thoughts on a couple of things. I started going through what images can I share with the squaddies today, and I felt like I need to go back 1 season, 2 seasons, the faces on these players and, the attitude. But before I do that, let's be as vocal in our criticism for the women as we are our men, because that was an absolute shit show, people. Demian?
Demian, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm looking over golf scorecards the whole match. It was rough. It was very rough. I always try to be Mr. Positive, and today was not good.
No.
We obviously chatted through the match, as we always do, and I mentioned this sort of in jest towards the end of the chat, kind of like how I need to say this just so I remain sane, that, they had chances and we could have won this game. But I do think that, Beth had scored that header. If there were a couple, the whole thing, if my mom was a bicycle, I would have training wheels situation. Whatever. I forget how it is in English.
We don't. That's fine. Go on.
So I do think it was horrible. It wasn't good, but I do think that it was like, their heads might be, thinking already about the final and all this other stuff, kind of playing second gear. But I do think that Renee could have done things differently. You could have rested players if this is what it was going to be. I mentioned to you that there were like 2 or 3 instances where I saw Kim Little and Mariona Caldente at the edge of the box during like a counter attack and stuff like that. So it just felt like a little strange in many ways, and I just need the season to be over, and I need the 24th to happen for whatever reason.
I think, Albert, we want the season to be over in the Premier League and the Barclays WSL pronto. Your quick thoughts on the debacle that we just saw. Arsenal women 2, Brighton 4. By the way, okay, I was up, as we've got a power outage, there's a lot to do this morning. And I joined the game at halftime. And I said to these lads, don't worry, I'm up. I'm in. We're going to win 4-2. I got the right scoreline, Albert and Demian, but the wrong team. Albert, your quick thoughts on the women and the debacle that was another loss. And is that 9 goals conceded in 2 games? Go on, Albert.
Yeah, so was it? I think there's 7 changes against Villa, and there's quite a few changes today, but the team was a bit stronger. The similarities between the men's and the women's team this season, I said in the chat, is unbelievable. For beating Madrid to the poor league performances, double-figure points behind, respectively, Liverpool men's team and the Chelsea women's team. Both got French team in semi-final opposition. They've dropped the ball since the big wins against Madrid. It's scary, actually. When you think about it, like this is something. Are Rene and Arteta having discussions of the similar nature? Because I don't know what's going on, but defensively today, Lord have mercy. I mean, it was awful. I know they say about obviously the difference in the goalkeepers, but even so, it was strange. It's just a very strange game, Sophie, quickly. This, Arsenal started poorly in both halves, by the way, but dominated and controlled it. Demian mentioned it, chances after chances after chances, not finishing. And Brighton were ruthless in combined with poor defensive displays. And the last 5 minutes of the game was just kamikaze football, whether that's down to the changes or also having to chase the game. Yeah, look, the WSL campaign has been disappointing, to say the least. To be double figures points behind the leaders is unacceptable. Go on, Soph.
No. Go on.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I've said before. Arsenal have won 4 trophies in 8 seasons. That's not good enough for Arsenal Football Club. For some of the players they've had in before, but yeah, I know a lot of the players. I don't know. The eye's definitely been taken off the ball because they got the final in a few weeks. That's obvious, because I don't think you get those kind of performances, particularly defensively, in the last couple of games. But listen, one more game next Saturday at 12:30 to finish to cement second place and just get the job done, and we can kiss goodbye to the WSL campaign for this season, man.
Yeah, we've got to be better in the league. I mean, this is the Arsenal Football Club, and it's really, I mean, we've been competitive, but not this season. And under, the rot started with Jonas, and it's really hard to kind of point the finger at Renee a lot too, but because she's got us to a Champions League final. But if we start off dodgy at the beginning of next season, you got to ask questions. It's the same thing with Mikel. It's like crazy what's happening with our men's and women's team. It's like a mirror image of each other, right? Yeah. And you say to yourself, well, if Mikel gets to a Champions League final, Renee's in a Champions League final. Demian said something on our WhatsApp group this morning, and it kind of stuck with me, and I wanted to start from there a little bit and go on, because Arsenal bipolar. and I last week, and as you know, Albert, we did a few shows together, and I was saying that we are schizophrenic. We've got a split personality. It's like the movie with James McAvoy. The listeners are probably sick of me saying it, but it's like we're Brian in the Premier League and we're Bob in the Champions League. And it's the same thing with the women. It's like we're Pat in the WSL and we're Patina in the Champions League. Here's what I want to do, right? Before I get to Ødegaard and a few other bits and pieces, I think it's fundamentally important that as fans, we go into this game positively, right? There's going to be plenty of time for a meltdown, breakdown, hit rock bottom moment should things not work out. But the game hasn't even been played yet, and it's 1-0, all right? And we have every chance of getting to a Champions League final. And, there's no doubt that for me, TikTok, we're on the clock. And it is really critical that we win this game. And I said to Jordan Jarrett Bryant, Demian, that I would rather get to the final and lose the final than lose this semi-final. There's some honor in losing a final and getting to the final, but you cannot lose this game. The women, for all of the history they've created too, You've been saying in our group, Arsenal Football Club as an umbrella has maybe a systematic institutional issue. Are we bipolar? We cannot afford, I guess is what I'm coming to say in a roundabout way, to continue being the loser club. Demian.
I'll preface this by saying that obviously I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. This is all subjective and assumptions based on nothing but my passion for the match and what I can feel like I see. A club like Barcelona, when you talk about the culture of the club that stems from the academy, both men and women, and then the squad, you know they are elite, you know they're going to win or try to win, and they hire managers that are proven winners with track records. For the most part, you have Pep that came out of nowhere, but he had been a legend. I grew up watching Pep. I always knew that he would be something special. I didn't think it would be this special, but you know. Whereas Arsenal, post-Wenger, there's so much doubt in unstable situation. You don't know where to hold on to. You don't know who the boss is, so to speak. You don't know if Claire Whitley is doing something. You don't know what Edu was doing. You don't know. We don't know, and we shouldn't know as fans. Obviously, that's not in our, you know, we don't need to know all this stuff. But there's not something where I can feel like this is what we're about. This is the club we're about. What I tell you guys all the time in chat, we are the team who everybody breaks record against or breaks their duck against. We are that team. If Man United haven't won in 20 matches, the 21st match is going to be against Arsenal. They're going to win. If somebody hasn't scored in 10 years, they're going to score a hat trick against Arsenal. That's the kind of stuff that happens. I am worried that we do not have the right managers, and I don't really, with respect, I don't really care what anybody thinks about that. I don't think Mikel Arteta is the right manager to actually be sustainable. Can he be like have a cup run where it's like kind of luck and all this other stuff? Yes. But as far as sustained, like who actually thinks we're going to win the Premier League next year? I don't know. With all the players and the current manager and his way of thinking, I don't know. We have a manager in Rene who has been amazing, who took over basically an emotional accident that was Jonas Eidevall for the players. And there's still a lot of doubt. She didn't even want the job to a degree, and we kind of begged her to take it. And she makes decisions that I don't necessarily agree with. I don't see. I cannot fathom some of the things that she does and players that she plays. So I think it falls down. Of course, the players are responsible. And remind me to talk about that later when people say like, oh, players need to take accountability.
Oh yeah, I've got that on the agenda.
Okay, lovely. And I just think it's more of a managerial situation, to be honest with you, than a player or personnel or attitude issue. I think it has to do a lot with managers on both sides, and we just don't have the chemistry right. Whereas currently Barcelona, for example, are just miles ahead.
Yeah. Albert, people said that about Barcelona and Chelsea, and Chelsea beat Barcelona for a Champions League. No one was expecting that. We've had Jason Cundy on the show talking about why not you guys. I mean, we won it in a year when no one really gave us a chance. But if you look at that Chelsea team, they had injuries, but my goodness, they had some Rottweilers in that team. Just riffing off what Demian said and going into the player part as well, because for me, I was talking to the LA Galaxy manager last night. LA Galaxy, who have won 6 championships, won the championship last year. And I'm giving you an example, guys. It doesn't matter what league you play in. It's about winning, coaching, right? They were formidable and they have this pedigree. They are 11 games started this season without a win, which is crazy. And you're talking about a team that's changed, right? And they're missing Ricky Puig, who's a graduate of La Masia, was very sought after even by Arsenal. He's playing in midfield. He's got an ACL injury. My point here is the same manager took them to glory last season, right? Players have changed this season. Manager's still the same, using the same tactics, right? And it goes back to somewhat what Kev used to say. It's the players, right? I truly believe as Mikel makes mistakes, yes. And it's questionable. He was the only manager, and he's the manager with the least experience, that did not rest key players out of Inter, Barcelona, and PSG this weekend, right? And people say, well, what do you expect him to do? Look at our bench. We don't care, right? Play Zinchenko, play Waneri, play these different players. I believe that on Wednesday, right, we're going to see the team we all expect. It is down to the players now, Albert. It is all about them. Kev used to say crossing the white line. The LA Galaxy manager was saying once they can't, there's nothing he can do other than maybe in management, game management. Yes, you've got to be on your toes to change the game or help affect the game. But our players haven't shown up this season. They just haven't. And you know what? There should be no awards at the end of the season in the Premier League, as far as I'm concerned. Who are you going to pick? Gabriel? Fine. Timber? Fine. Partey? Fine. No, nobody deserves a cake this season. It is down to the players now, Albert. Over to you.
Yeah, I mean, for example, obviously everyone hoping to seen it in terms of there was a stat that went out in terms of Arsenal's points dropped in the last from 2021 to this season. It's alarming, to be really, really honest. But then I get it, Sophie. You have a fraction of our fan base that say, "Oh, but look where we come from." Okay, I think every Arsenal fan, regardless of whatever side of the fence you sit on in regards to what you think about the manager, everybody knows that. But I'm talking about the here and now. Are in the semi-final for Champions League. Now, unfortunately, they took their performances in the Premier League into last Tuesday. You could also add other factors in that, the occasion that Sophie mentioned, the emotional build-up before the game and getting the fans on side. I don't think to get the fans on side for a semi-final of the Champions League. We haven't been there since 2009. How much more incentive do you want? But you have to look at the players. And I mentioned this before again, Sophie, and I'm going to say it again. Yes, people can make the distinction between playing competitive domestic football and playing in the Champions League. I'll give you that. But this is not a group of players that have been playing together for 18 months or 12 or for a season or 6 months. There's a nucleus of this side that have played together to churn out better performances in the league and in a Carabao Cup semi-final against Newcastle. Because that's where those are your high-level, high-pressure games. We can talk about the manager, but I think I mentioned this to you, Sophie and Demian, in regards to, I was listening to Ruud Gullit on the Overlap when he was on there, and he was talking about the manager. Yes, they can give you instructions or whatever, but sometimes as players, come on, into the manager on the touchline to be getting you through a game of that magnitude. Are you serious? Like what I saw in that first half, particularly last week, Sophie, with the players is, yes, you could talk about their throws and the early goal didn't matter, but this is the semi-final of the Champions League, and you saw the levels. You saw the levels in that first 30 minutes. As we spoke about before, Sophie, sort of post-match after the game against PSG, Arsenal have 90 to 120 minutes to save their season. Now, the thing is, you can call it an inquest, you can call it recriminations, you can call it an overview of the season. But the reality is, I'm going to say it again, we deal with the here and now. Now, it's not going to be easy to go over there and get the result. But
I don't care about the performance on Wednesday. Do you? I don't.
No. As long as you get
the result.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Because at the end of the day, look, perfect example when Liverpool played PSG in the first leg. PSG absolutely battered them. Absolutely battered them. If it wasn't for Alisson, it could have been more. But they, you know what? Somehow they got the result to win 1-0. Yes, you can talk about the second leg, but I'm talking about that isolated first leg. It is possible to go there and get a win. The players have got to believe it. It is only 1-0. The whole away goals thing doesn't count anymore. So that's been taken away. And the Arsenal players are going to have to go to somewhere that they haven't been before. Mentally, the ability is there, and one given moment you can smash one in the top corner from 25 yards. But mentally, on Wednesday, these group of players are going to have to go to a place they haven't gone to before, probably before in their professional careers, to get to a Champions League final. And the only thing I'll say is it's not a case of will they be ready? They need to be ready.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I totally agree. And it's, let's see. Raul says, let's get some comments up from the squaddies. It infuriates me is Arteta's post-match comments makes it feel like we're watching a different game. But that's him being protective, right? Agree, Harvey, the manager has to inspire. And also Harvey put up a stat about how 39% of all of our goals are conceded from set pieces. You know what? That little set piece coach is annoying me now. Get off the touchline, all right? I don't often agree with Gary Neville, but I will here. K Marlon says, when our players are not under pressure, they rock up. That's where Arteta fails, I'm afraid. He can't galvanize them when the going gets tough. I think, Demian, and we do not like being the hunted. If you look at the Premier League season, the improbable one, and last year where we should have won, we did not like Manchester City breathing down our necks. It scared us. And we reverted back to mentally impotent Arsenal, right? There is something different about this Arsenal and Mikel and the team having their backs up. We like to hunt. I actually feel good about our position going into this game, needing a goal, right? Call me crazy, but I have total belief because why, Demian? Anyone shocked by the result in the Premier League at the weekend? I didn't understand quite because it's like, this is who we've been. We're a totally different beast in the Champions League. And yes, we lost that game against PSG. I think we're a little bit too arrogant. I think we got smacked in the mouth early. I don't think we were expecting that. We didn't have room to recover. And Mikel Arteta, I agree with all the squaddies in the chat who were saying, make subs earlier, affect the game earlier. But we like hunting. And these players have to have the game of their lives. And I want to get to the captain, right? Because I think some of the narrative about Martin Ødegaard online has been harsh. But once again, I can't be a hypocrite. You're a fan. You express yourself how you want. Remember my rule, as long as you're not racist, homophobic, misogynistic, and all of those horrible words. You can have your opinion. You can express yourself. There's been a bit of a tete-a-tete between YouTubers, handbags at dawn, mostly men, I'd like to underline, not women, going at each other, right? Martin Ødegaard, okay, I wanted to put these pictures up from last season for a reason, because when you look at him, right, remember last season, I used this photo over and over again. He was stunning. 15 goals, assists, the way he was playing. He was the greatest showman. He was absolutely on fire, led by example. Now people calling for his head because he's not a good captain. We've had ex-players on this show talk about how the captain's role is a lot different in modern day football than it used to be. And I'm telling you something, if you ask most of the Arsenal players if they're happy with Martin Ødegaard as their captain, they would say to you, yes, we are. This was his energy last season. This was the Martin Ødegaard that we loved, and the season before. I told you guys when I got to spend a few minutes with him in Norway, and he was handling all the media, and Haaland was being shepherded to the coach like a child, and Martin Ødegaard was taking on all the questions and handling players and helping people. I mean, he was and has been a great leader for this team. I believe Martin Ødegaard deserves to be given the benefit of the doubt in this game. But I also believe, Demian, that he has to show up. We have to see the greatest showman. He has to be on fire. He has to have this energy. He absolutely needs to have this roar. Because if he doesn't, I don't think we win this game. Your thoughts?
Wow. Well said. I agree with you 100%. I love Martin Ødegaard. He's probably my favorite player in the squad alongside probably Declan and Timber. He needs to shoot from outside the box. he needs to not give a flying you-know-what and just kick the damn ball with that cultured left foot and just aim at the goal and just shoot and shoot and shoot. I'm so tired of seeing somebody that is so good at football with such an amazing shot hit the worst free kicks I've ever seen in my life. Some of his corners are just god-awful, and he just doesn't seem like he has any confidence to shoot. I don't know if there is anything going on in his private life. I don't know if it's Arteta telling him to not shoot. I don't know what it is, but the fact of the matter is that I think that is if I were to borrow your term of giving the benefit of the doubt overall, but with a caveat, I would say, sure, play, do whatever you do. And even if you keep playing the way that you're playing, which I don't necessarily think is at the highest standard, play. I believe in you. You're incredible, but shoot. And the other thing I'll say really quickly, when we've spoken about this before, is how I think there's something going on and a proof of that is when he gave SAKA the penalty against Real Madrid, his former team, and you're the captain and you're playing a quarterfinal at the Bernabeu, like against your, like, that is not captain behavior. Like, imagine historic players not doing that, or whoever the penalty takers are that are also the captains. Just kind of, it just seemed really weird to me, and I'm not judging. It sounds like I'm judging, but it was just like that. I was like, I wonder what happened, and I want my captain to be a mean MF, and I don't see that happening. I don't know if he has that in his locker. And I think that might be a thing that is needed to sort of like have a good dynamic with a manager. Because if you have the manager and you just have like the good old boy that does whatever you say, it should be a different sort of situation. I hate Chelsea, obviously, but I don't know if like Mourinho and John Terry, for example, had like, hey man, just do what you're told. Like, I think there might have been some tension there and some like, two alpha male type of situation. As much as I hate that term and the whole alpha thing, I think it's just so stupid. But there might be a need for that, and I just don't see it currently with Martin. Maybe next year, maybe with a different manager, but that dynamic, I just don't see it flying,
Albert, could you argue that handing the penalty to SAKA also, though, is leadership, and SAKA has really been a great penalty taker for the Gunners? And Demsek, I was hoping you would give your analogy of maybe the players afterwards, because it's one of the best I've heard.
That's a really good point, by the way. So
about your sister. Question. Yeah. Albert, what's your take on Captain O?
Oh, where do we start? Firstly, Demi, I get where you're coming from when you say about taking responsibility, and I'll get the counter argument. But at that moment, I do get it. And, you see situations with penalties where players are squabbling, so see who's going to take it. And I've seen that happen. That wouldn't have happened with Bukayo Saka. So I'm sure if Ødegaard had said, you know what, I'm taking it, there wouldn't have been an issue there. But in regards to Martin Ødegaard, I mean, yeah, what you're seeing now and what you've seen in the last couple of seasons is, yeah, it's not the same person, is it? I mean, I think last season he had like 20 plus goal contributions. I think the season before, 25 plus goal contributions. And there's a number of factors. I mean, people have mentioned that there's a period of time Havertz is out the side and Saka's out the side that might have sort of hindered his performances. But, he has been back since November. And the irony of it, when he came back for that game against Chelsea away, for someone that hadn't kicked the ball for so long, I actually thought he had quite a decent game. I actually thought he played well, which is ironic considering we're further sort of 4 or 5 months down the line. Actually, the form's got worse. I don't know. I mean, when he had that opportunity on Saturday to take the shot, it's incredibly frustrating, and I don't know what's sort of happening with him, really.
I don't think I'm telling you right now, a player like that, who we've seen with the talent, and we've seen him put this team on his shoulders. And I know some people will talk about Albert, the Man United, the penalty. You talk about Newcastle. There's something not right with him. It wouldn't surprise me if at the end of the season, Martin Ødegaard has a statement that says, I tried to do everything I did to play through injury, to, be the leader you wanted me to be, but it didn't work out. And for some reason, Albert, Mikel doesn't trust Waneri right now the same way he trusts Miles Lewis-Skelly. Whether it's tracking back and defending, there's no excuse to bring on Waneri with 4 minutes to go in a game, Albert. Something is not right.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it, he's the captain, but you're thinking logically, he must be continuing to keep playing him because he's going to play himself into form. Well, actually, it's gone the complete opposite way. He's got worse. And the whole thing, touching quickly on Waneri, I think the only reason he doesn't put him on, which is it a good reason? Because how do you get experience in learning your trade in terms of being better off the ball if you don't get given minutes? But the reality is the way the likes of Ødegaard, in particular, Trossard are playing, they shouldn't be in the team. But then the problem you've got, Sophie and Demian, is the fact that you look at the bench we had for PSG.
Who is playing well, Albert?
Not if you're talking about Premier League form, not many.
Right.
So I mean, the exception of Partey and Rice and Saka's odd fleeting moments, there's not many. And but I'm with you, Sophie. I just think one part of being a good manager and management is learning also when to take certain players out of the firing line. And he refuses to do it with Martin Ødegaard. You can bring him off. It's not impossible. And to be fair with Mikel, he's brought him off quite a few times since he's been at Arsenal. But
he has trust issues with the other players.
Yeah, he
doesn't trust Zinchenko, doesn't trust Waneri yet. So he'd rather stick with Ødegaard and think that a player who has that much talent will come good.
Which is even more... Sorry, Sophie.
No, go on. Finish your thought right there.
Yeah, which is even more insane considering the position that we were in against PSG. We weren't winning the game. Like, you've got to affect changes. And when Waneri come on, I was done at that point, like with 2 minutes to go. It's like, come on, Mikel, man. But yeah, Ødegaard is a worry. He's got another big game coming up, Sophie, where he's gonna play, and we're gonna see whether he's suddenly transformed out of nowhere into a superstar, or you continue with the mundane performances he's given so far.
Yeah. I tell you, listen, Dembele or not, this PSG team is dangerous. We talked about them with Matt Spiro. If you missed the show and you're looking for this episode doesn't date, he gives us some really good insights into PSG and some of their key players, and they have a lot of special players. They have more players who can do things on a whim and change a game than we do. And that's the thing that scares me the most. We don't have that in our locker. The consistency of, is Declan Rice going to do that time and time again with the free kick? Saka is probably the most consistent at being able to pull off those big moments. There's a player that needs to have the game of his life after really letting the team down, and that's Thomas Partey, and you would hope that would change. The fact that Mikel Merino has been one of our most consistent players, Demian, and stepped in without complaint and just, being a bit of a baller, in my opinion. I think this changes the landscape on Wednesday. This guy, Ben White, will have to step up if Jurrien Timber isn't quite ready. David Raya, who's been a little bit off in the last few games, needs to have his biggest game. But for me, Declan Rice, David Raya, Bukayo Saka, Thomas Partey, who I don't have a picture of, and Martin Ødegaard. These players need to put the team on their shoulders. And a player like Kivior needs to just do what he's been doing. He deserves a little bit of praise. So, Demian, as we go into Wednesday, your biggest fears, I think we've talked about, but how do you feel about the match, and are you confident that we can get a win in Paris?
Yes, I'm actually fairly confident, kind of to borrow from what you were saying about switching from being hunted to liking being hunters. I can see that happening. I think we can compartmentalize and forget about, the Premier League and just focus on the Champions League. And yes, I feel confident. There's nothing to lose. You can score a goal early and then everything is turned upside down. And this is going to sound absurd. Just hear me out. We hear so much about Lamine Yamal, and rightfully so. Probably the best player in the world. So exciting. Just give him the ball, and it's just the greatest thing since Messi. The best. Unbelievable all day. I feel the same way with Miles Lewis-Skelly. I'm just so excited every time he either has the ball or somebody's coming at him, because I think he gives 0 Fs. And if there's one player that I could have against Lamine Yamal, would be Miles Lewis-Skelly. I think he wouldn't be fazed by it. He would be like, okay, whatever, here we go. I got you. Like he did with Vinny, or he would have done with Rodrigo, and he would do with Dembele, and he would do with anybody else. So I love the players that you mentioned, but I do think that there's something very special about Miles Lewis-Skelly that can keep solid at the back and can keep some of those players quiet this time around, especially away from home, maybe galvanize the crowd and be a thing. So because we have him, and it sounds so crazy that I'm putting my hopes on a 17-year-old player, basically a kid. That's just kind of where my mind is at, and it's almost like this here goes nothing attitude. And I am feeling confident. I think that we can definitely win the match, and I would say that we're not going to lose it. I would bet that we wouldn't lose the match. So yeah, I'm actually very, very excited.
Yeah, I am too. I really am looking forward to the game. Gunnar Russ is having a little bit of a meltdown in the chat, and I say that respectfully because he's been an Arsenal fan for a very, very long time. Russ, March is being organised. Get these scum owners out. Okay, I am willing to address all of this after Wednesday, right? Because I think the focus right now should be this game, getting behind the team, getting behind the manager, putting all the positive energy out there. And I'm not just trying to be like Mills and Boone and nice flowers and stuff like that. I really feel that there's going to be a time for us to talk about all of this. And by the way, the owners that you talk about are the same owners that gave Mikel the money that everyone complains about that he spent and wasted. And it is not the same football landscape where owners can put their hands in their pockets a la Abramovich, but they spent 100 million on Rice. They spent a lot of money on Calafiori, on Mikel Merino, on Jurrien Timber. They've given him the money, the same money you all complain about that he wasted. And if you look at ownership, you look at what's happened to Tottenham and Manchester United and Chelsea, I think we're in a healthy position. The conversation maybe should be more about what are they doing with the money and are they investing it in the right players? And I'll give you this, though. If Arsenal Football Club don't back Andrea Berta, give him the keys to the kingdom to buy 5 or 6 players this summer and spend at least a minimum of 350 million, which I don't think is going to happen, I think they'll be held to pay, and rightly so. Because the reason why we're in the position we're in the league is our bench sucks, right? But Mikel has a huge say, and you guys heard as well from a couple of experts and European experts, the relationship between Berta and Diego Simeone too. Simeone was the Don, Berta was the Rottweiler in the boardroom making the deals and getting the players that Simeone wanted. Arteta still holds the keys to the kingdom when it comes to what players to sign. So you can blame the owners all you want, but the manager in this instance also has to be culpable. I don't know if you guys want to say something real quick about that.
Yeah, so let me come in quickly. Harvey, let me address your comment because I noticed you seem to have an issue with things I said in the last couple of times I've been on here. When we go back to the semi-final, we played PSG in the first leg. From an attacking option, with the exception of Nwaneri, who do you look at on the bench that would have come on and made an impact? And that's an open question, because if you're going to say that I'm talking cobblers, what do you mean? Do you believe the bench is strong enough for players to come on the pitch and make an impact, with the exception of Nwaneri? any Arsenal fan throughout the course of the season the last few years has spoken about religiously the same thing. The options to come off the bench to affect games. So unless you know something that I don't know in regards to the recruitment or the quality of players on the bench to come on and affect games, please tell me, because I'm all ears.
All right. Let's move on a little bit. And yeah, I have huge respect for us, and this isn't me having a pop at him at all. And you know, that's not the owner's fault. 7 semi-finals without scoring a goal. That's Demian. It goes back to the players. And here's what I want. I want you to share your analogy. There's no ads on this show. You can put it however you want. But yesterday, and it's not the first time, right? Demian uses this analogy, and I couldn't, and respectfully, it can work both ways, men and women. Okay, sure. I don't want to be like, but to me, this is it. Demian, just kind of articulate how you feel about the players, because it's all well and good saying the owners and the manager as well. But the players, come on, man, they're the ones that have played 38 almost games in the Premier League and battered Real Madrid too. So talk to me.
Well, you know, you put up that picture of all the whole squad, right? Which I think is great, you know, and it's like, oh, our players, you know, our team. And if you look at them, you would like all of these guys to come over for Thanksgiving dinner, to be married to your sister, or to be that older brother you never had, and all that stuff, right? They're well, we can talk about Partey another time, but all these players are like cute home buddies, you know, like heartwarming guys, right? We had it with Nketiah, we had it with other players. I don't want the players in my team to be nice. I don't want them to marry my sister. I want that mean dude with a motorcycle that walks in and picks up my sister on a date and also wants to have sex with my mom and calls my dad some stupid names, and he's just no morals, just mean, awful person. That's what I want my striker to be. That's what I want my captain to be. That's what I want my center backs to be. I just want stone cold killers, ruthless bastards. That's what I want. I'm tired of the nice guy thing. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Okay. Sorry to put that image out there, and I'm sure my mom's going to watch this show. But you know what I mean? I'm just fed up. I'm fed up with like just kindness and warmth. And we don't have, sometimes I feel we don't have stone cold killers. Of course, I'm being facetious. I'm exaggerating. I'm adding some color to it. And I don't doubt these players' ability. I don't doubt their love for Arsenal. I don't doubt their will to win. We might be facing like a generational thing. You remember when you got the Panini, sticker book when you were young, and all these players were like, they were like 24, but they looked like bearded, and just like everybody looked like Vinnie Jones, and everybody looked like Duncan Ferguson, and everybody looked like they were just like working construction in between and could smoke like 20 packs of cigarettes a day. That's what I would love, and I feel like I miss. And it's not like a generational thing where no other teams have it. I think that some players, this type of player exists in other teams. But anyway, that's just to add some laughter.
Sophie, to quickly come off the back what Demian said, I won't give the person credit, but it was said a few seasons ago, Arsenal were like a team of son-in-laws. I heard that being said on a very popular football show on a certain channel, and that was a few years ago, by the way. So I understand where Demian's coming from when he says that.
So the reason why, and thanks for sharing, Demian, and yes, like Demian said, he says it's such a great analogy, because the reason why I wanted to put some pictures up of last season was, where has this Arsenal gone? You know, and I tell you something, be careful what you wish for, people, because Kai Havertz, since he has not been in the team, all the shithousery is gone. Chucking the ball at coaches.
Yes.
You know, but needling players, putting himself out there when decisions are made, being vocal. No one's taken on the baton. And no one has, because Benjamin White was the only other guy doing it, and he's been injured. Shithousery matters in big moments. And everyone who's criticized Kai Havertz, who, by the way, embarrassingly so, and Gunnar Russ, I'll give you this, okay? And this is on Mikel Arteta, whoever's in charge, the owners, all of them. The fact that Kai Havertz is still our top scorer this season is damning. Is absolutely damning. And I feel like, let's talk a little bit about shithousery and how that's going to play a big part, Albert.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's definitely been missing in the team, man. Kind of the back of Davis analogy. Is that gonna shithousery? Is that gonna work on Wednesday? It can do, because let's be honest, right? If international tournaments do catch your fancy when you watch it, World Cups or Euros, you see a lot of these South American and the top nations, the dark arts FC are of a higher caliber I've never seen in my life before. Arsenal have been good at doing that domestically over the last recent years. We were spoken about as a team that could be intimidated and easily bullied and that kind of thing. But Sophie, I guess that's going to depend really. If I'm talking about going into Wednesday's game, how long we stay in the game. And I mean, let's say for argument's sake, it's still 0-0 after 75 minutes. We'll still be in the game, but the first 15 minutes are going to be crucial. If we can mirror what the fantastic ladies done in the second leg against Lyon, getting that goal early and completely swinging the momentum of the tide, then we got a different game. But I think going into the game on Wednesday, Sophie, sort of if I finish up, is, and I said this in the chat actually, where I caught the Inter Milan Barcelona game. I mean, Jesus Christ, what a game! Firstly, and I'm going to be doing a watch along for that game. I don't think my heart's going to take it if the game ends up like that on Wednesday. But it's a tough one. It is. I do want to see that element of Arsenal again, because that's lost. You mentioned the shithousery and
look at Saliba. Look at even Saliba, right? Look at him. You know, we were a totally different beast mentally. And something this season isn't clicking, it isn't working in the Premier League, but we have hope because somehow it is in the Champions League. And what I'm saying, guys, is that we need to be ready for war. We need to be ready for war. We need to do whatever it takes to win. We need to be smart. We need to be devious. We need to be clever. We need to get an early goal, put pressure on them, because PSG's pedigree in this competition is as bad, if not worse, than ours. They have been known to crumble as well in Europe. They're going to have all the pressure being at home. We've got nothing to lose. I want Mikel Arteta to go back to being fearless Mikel as opposed to being fearful Mikel. He needs to take the shackles off the players' feet. He needs to let them play the game. And we can do this. There is no reason why we can't. Lesser talented teams have beaten better teams and gone through phases of the competition and ended up winning the competition as well when most people doubted it. And for our own legacy, we cannot be bipolar Arsenal losers. We have got to win this game. There are no excuses. I'm not calling for anyone's head, but Demian, we have to win this game.
Oh my God, I feel like I want to get into a fist fight. I'm just so pumped. You need to clip this, and this needs to be all over social media. I mean, let's go to war, coach. Whatever you want. I'll do whatever. I'll fight whoever. Yes, I agree with you. Nothing to lose. We got to go there. We got to show them what the Arsenal is about. And, you know, we talk about remontada this, remontada that. People forget sometimes La remontada was against PSG. And they've been known, like you said, Sophie, to quote you, they've been known to crumble. So yeah, we have nothing to lose. Just go there and be brave, have sharp elbows, be smart. And I'm not saying like shithousery and just cheat and you know, no. Just be a mean, assertive player and just get it done. And I believe that we can do it. Against Barcelona or Inter, we'll talk about it. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I definitely have hope, and I think we can do it. And I actually believe that the guys will do it come Wednesday.
Albert, Jordan Jarrett Bryant was on this show as well, all right, last week, and we both got into it. We both got each other hyped, all right? But we want less hype from the club before Wednesday, and we want more heart. And Jordan talked about heart, and that's what I'm saying as well. And Matty K just put it in, you know, put the Rocky music on. Let's go. This is a heavyweight fight, and we cannot hit the canvas or be on the ropes for most of the game. We got to hit him with an uppercut early on. Albert.
Yeah, you set me up well there, Soph, man. Listen, man, this is we've spoken about for years. We was at the Champions League for 7 years, man. And Sophie and Demian, I said this to you. The reaction when we knew he was getting Real Madrid, it was defeatist. I don't care what anyone tells. Majority of people said that we're gonna lose. We beat Real Madrid. You know, PSG, they're doable, for example. I'm like, calm down, semi-final Champions League. We've got, like I said, 90 to 120 minutes to save our season. This is where we wanted to be as fans. So I don't hear any talk about, if we get through, look who we could play in the final. We're not going to play Millwall in the final or Accrington Stanley. Like this is the Champions League we're talking about here. So Sophie, this game is huge, man. Like, and I know the players will be ready. I know they will be. We spoke about this before in terms of winning important games of football. We haven't done that too many times at Arsenal Football Club. We haven't. Definitely not in Europe anyway. But we have an opportunity, and that keyword opportunity on Wednesday, to not only be a top talented side, but to create our own narratives and not be the human dartboard that Sophie used as a reference before from other rival fans. This is huge, and we have to go to war, and they've got to believe they can go there and get the job done. Take heart from that first semi-final. It was kamikaze. I think it's not a smart idea for me to do a watch along on Wednesday, because I think I'm going to be all over the place whatever the result is. But
God bless anyone who does.
Yeah.
God bless anyone who does. Okay, so I want you guys to give your closing statement to the squaddies. You've got 1 minute. All right, a lot could be said in 1 minute, and you know how I like to be. I'm very good on timing these days. It's no more Qatar World Cup extra added time. And there's been 150 of you in live chat. Hit that like button. I've loved this conversation. Please, let's try and keep it positive at least until Wednesday. Demian, your 1 minute begins now.
What I will say is that we all love Arsenal. We love Arsenal women. We love Arsenal men. And we know there's a lot of drama with YouTubers and this or that and the other. And all I want to say is just like what Kevin would always say, tell your loved ones that you love them. At the end of the day, there's so much more to this crazy world than if Kai Havertz is the leading scorer or not. We love Arsenal. We love Arsenal women. It's absolutely insane. But always keep in mind and kind of do what would Kevin do? What would Kevin say? And kind of live by that. And, just love life. Love life. And remember that just because us three have a podcast or a YouTube channel, or anybody has a YouTube channel, it goes on TalkSport or whatever, they're not bigger fans than you. They're not better fans than you. And this idea that people are more entitled to their opinion than others, it's absolute garbage. Have fun, love the team, do what you want to do, be supportive, don't be abusive. And again, just remember, Kevin, remember what he would do, what he would say. And it's good things to live by, good philosophy to live by.
Absolutely love that. Brilliant stuff from you. Albert,
Yeah, Sophie, mine won't be a minute. I can tell you that for certain.
That's my boy.
Firstly, I must say,
eye on the clock, Albert.
yeah. Big up to the away fans. Big up to the away
Yeah.
fans that will be going on Wednesday. Be safe and go and lap up every emotion possible and try and enjoy the game if that's even possible. But Wednesday is going to be a defining moment, an absolutely defining moment. Go and, as I said, go and create your own narrative. Go and be part of Arsenal folklore and get us into a final. And then we'll see what happens come that day. But listen, we have to deal in here and now. And don't talk about Premier League. We can talk about that for another day. But tomorrow, it is all about Wednesday. And people, if religious or not, pray, believe, have some kind of faith, and let us go and create some serious history.
I love that. Brilliant from you boys today. Well done. Well done. And squaddies in the house. You know, I really hope we turn a page. I really, really do. Because I really want the evolution to continue in this journey. But at some point, we've got to reach the final destination. And this is the season to reach the final destination. There's never been a better time to try and win the Champions League. Have we regressed in the Premier League? Yes. But we still have something to shout for and fight for. And the reason why I want us all to try and be as positive as possible and to send the energy out there is we can't live in a world where we don't win anything and United or Tottenham win Europa League. And Enzo Maresca wins a trophy in his first season. And Amorim wins a trophy in his first season. And Arne Slot wins a trophy in his first season. And Manchester United end up finishing above us in the league and win the FA Cup. Newcastle wins something after 70 years. These are the darts that will come our way. And they're going to be fiercer and more vitriolic and brutal than ever. It is down to the players and Mikel to change the narrative. They are the ones who have the power to do that. We're powerless. All we can do is support the team. And I know hope isn't a plan, but anything can happen in Paris on Wednesday night. And I just really want us to make this happen because there is no alternative. And the thought of it just gives me chills. You can follow Demian and Albert. Albert on Instagram right here. Albert on YouTube right here. Demian has given X the kick, and you can find him on Instagram right here. Both absolutely smashing it. Thank you, boys, so much for joining me today. And we'll get together and maybe do a post game on Wednesday after the big match. Squaddies, you've been unbelievable. I'd like you all to do me a massive favor, please. We've joined the Sports Social Podcast Network, and this means a lot to me. It's Europe's biggest sport podcast network for audio, and Highbury Squad is now part of their team. The link is in the bio. Please go and subscribe to our Spotify and Apple platforms. It will help the show. And please, please leave a review on Apple as well. I would greatly appreciate it. At ease, everyone. At ease. We can do this. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. Night, night.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
I am putting you to work, Texas. Go do it. Please, please, please.